recording. I'll quickly just read through who's here again. Crystal Mansfield, Will Bissonette, Steve Frisk, Sherwood Lake, Rob Wright, Irv Stoll, Helen Hunt, and Rich Melanson from BCTV.
And me.
And, oh, sorry, and Carla Lumbra.
Thank you.
So we'll start with, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the March 24th regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes for the March 24th regular meeting signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Crystal, you don't want to approve the minutes? Is that correct?
I did weigh in.
All right, so if we don't have a unanimous vote, we have to do it by roll call. So Carla, can you just read the roll and everyone can vote yay or nay?
This is for the minutes from March 24th. Crystal, these are, okay. I just wanted to clarify that these were
I
the
did
minutes.
approve them.
Oh, you didn't get a copy? I see.
Oh.
All right, but we still have to.
I did approve them.
Oh, you said yay when I said opposed. There must have been a lag. Okay, let's do this one more time. All those in favor.
Just do over.
Those in favor of approving the minutes from March 24th, the regular meeting, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the Special Emergency Management Response Virtual Meeting, April 3rd, 2020. That was the Friday check-in that we're doing with Sherwood every Friday. And we did,
So
in
moved.
fact, form a quorum.
So moved.
So moved.
So
Got a
moved.
second? Got a second?
Second.
Okay.
Second
discussion?
by Crystal.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the Special Emergency Management Meeting from April 3rd signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, I will vote in the affirmative. Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstained because I never knew nothing about the meeting.
Yeah, it's a check-in that we do where Crystal represents the hospital and then Sherwood and Steve is representing the highway department. So
Yeah, but it makes no difference. If it's a select board to do with the select board, it should have them all be notified.
well, we don't make any decisions. We're not representing the select board is the thing.
Right.
Still,
It's
it's
informational
information
or-
that nobody else, that we don't get. But you can't just have a few of the select board be at a meeting, because that's a quorum. Which is
Right,
three of them.
And that's why the
Which is
minutes,
why Carla takes minutes.
That's why you have to notify everybody.
okay, going forward, I will. So I will let everybody know about that going forward, starting this week. So we did not have a unanimous motion, so we need a roll call vote. Carla, you want to read the roll?
Sure. All those in favor of approving minutes for the Special Emergency Management Meeting on April 3rd. Will Bissonette,
Yes.
Crystal Mansfield,
Aye.
Stephen Frisk,
Yes.
Rob Wright,
Yes.
Irv Stoll,
I abstain.
Okay, motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the special select board meeting from April 8th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the special select board meeting of April 8th signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, I would entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order and start with members of the public.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of taking the agenda out of order signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So Sherwood,
Yes,
what can you tell us about the LEMP and other stuff?
okay. The LEMP is the same pretty much as we've done for the last 3 years that I've been doing it. The only thing that was started last year at the suggestion of state emergency management was the delegation of authority, which basically means if there's an emergency wherein several entities have to come together in accordance with incident command system and the NIMS system, that there's an emergency management or that there is a person designated as the incident commander. And in most cases, it's the emergency management director, especially when you're talking about a place as small as we are. The emergency management director can designate somebody else to be the incident commander, but in general, it starts out with the emergency management director. Just a quick example of something that would be designated away, or incident command be designated away. If there was a huge forest fire that involved all kinds of resources, highway, anything that would involve getting state emergency management involved, because it's a fire, you would designate the fire chief as incident commander, and he would run that circumstance from this perspective of the town, and then emergency management would fall back into a kind of a subordinate role to fill resources. So last year we signed this delegation of authority. It also allows for $10,000 to be designated per an emergency that you don't have to vote on. If we have a situation where we need to spin up an EOC, we need to feed people, we need to house people, we need to buy resources for that particular emergency. If it exceeds $10,000, then at least 3 of you would have to vote as usual to approve that. But this is not money that's put into a budgetary item. It's not a line item thing. It's only there as a contingency. We have just started using, as an example, that contingency on the COVID-19 issues, which I can get into a little bit later. So in this particular case, there is nothing different from last year, other than some names have been changed.
To protect the innocent.
Changing in positions.
Right.
Okay.
So what is it we need to do, Sherwood?
Well, I've gotten permission from the state, received permission from the state to allow this to be signed by Will via electronic signature. So once you have voted to accept it, he can sign off on it, and I can transmit it to the state. Where this is extraordinarily important, and I probably should have told you this before, is that when FEMA designates funds in what they call the Stafford Act, which pays a certain percentage of disaster relief. Without this, we could end up footing the entire bill for whatever relief was necessary in town. With this, we end up paying roughly about 7.8% of the bill. There's a couple of other instances or a couple of other things that have to be done, not this year, to keep that 7.8% match. So what basically we need with this is a vote from you that you have it, you have all the questions answered that you need, and that you vote to approve sending it forward. And of course, the contingency on would be on page 2 of the packet you have.
Okay, I would entertain, anybody have any questions for Sherwood? Okay, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the LEMP and have the chair sign it and have Sherwood transmit it to the state.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the updated LEMP and transmitting it to the state via Sherwood, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So Sherwood, I will get that signed and scanned and email it to you in the morning.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay,
Would you like that update?
sure.
Okay. So what's been going on with COVID-19 is when it first started, or there were first mentions of it and starting to hit in this area, we convened a meeting of all of the local emergency response partners. That involved the school district, the hospital, the town, the fire department, members of the town staff, to discuss plans moving forward, how we were going to respond to it. Since that time, we have held weekly emergency response meetings. These are in the form of briefings that basically I put together the week's worth of meetings that I've been attending, and they're pretty much daily at this point. Meetings, training, any updates that are coming in from the different entities, and they're discussed at these weekly meetings. They occur 6 o'clock Friday evening via this Zoom application. There has not been a situation where there's been a decision made, but input collected. Fortunately for us, we have had very little impact so far. We are not at peak, according to the state. Although there were some encouraging numbers that came out today that says we're not doubling as fast as far as new infections. The concerning thing, at least for our area, is that we have now graduated to 3rd on the list of total confirmed, at least the county has graduated to 3rd on the list of confirmed cases. The other big thing that I've been working on, and I will have it to present to you at some point here in the near future, is the continuity of operations plan, which basically allows us to identify who will take over jobs as people get sick. Hopefully there won't be that situation, but if they do and it causes vacancies in positions, how we're going to fill that. That will be forthcoming. There's a couple of more pieces that need to be done.
Okay. Anybody have questions? All right. Thank you, Sherwood. I appreciate that.
You are welcome.
Thank you, Sherwood.
You are welcome. Take care.
You too. We'll
Sherwood,
go,
see you Friday.
Yes, absolutely.
all right, let's go back up the agenda and we'll do the warrants. Rob, do you have a copy of the warrants? Did you able to grab it today?
No.
Okay. Okay. So did nobody get a copy of the warrants?
Pretty much, I was heading to work. I didn't know anything about this or I knew about the meeting, but not anything about signing warrants or taking them home or anything else. So,
Oh, okay. Well, I apologize about that. It was in an email at some point. We might have to, well, let's move down the agenda for a second. I talked to VLCT last week about the warrants. We can adopt a single signatory for the warrants so that only one of us has to sign them, as long as once they are signed, the summary sheets are dispersed. So, which is what I tried to do today, is make copies of all the summary sheets so that you guys could look them over, you know, like we do, without making copies of all of the invoices. But if there was something that you wanted to bring up, we could deal with it. So I think the plan going forward is we should think about doing that, and then we will discuss the warrants at the meeting, pass them or not, and then I would go in the next day and sign all of them. Or we could have the treasurer do it, or Irv, or you know, whoever you guys want to do that. We could set that up.
I would support that, Will, just because from my perspective, it's really a challenge for I realize I work right around the corner, but I would share with you all that it's really a challenge to try to get to the town hall during working hours for me. And I went today and the building was all locked up, as it should be, but I didn't bring my keys. So I had the best of intentions and it failed. So I'm sure, I mean, we all have other things that we're focusing on. And my sense would be if we could discuss them at a select board meeting until we're all back together and can review the files, then we just delegate someone to sign off on behalf of the select board and be done with it.
once we sign off on it, there's really no sense in discussing it, isn't it? Isn't there?
Well, that's why I would do it. I would print this. I think what we might have to do in this case is maybe have a special meeting tomorrow so that you guys can all look at them and we can sign them. Because I went down today and looked through them and signed them. But going forward, I would get the copies into our boxes probably Tuesday mid-morning so that everyone can swing by town hall, grab them, or I can email them to everyone who can get them through email. And then I wouldn't sign them until the following day so that we could discuss them first before they got signed and make any amendments that we need.
Yeah, I would think that would be fine. It's fine with me. And email works really well for me because physically trying to get to town hall while things are happening at the hospital is next to impossible.
Yeah. Steve, Irv, what do you guys think?
Well, I got a question on these ones, that the copies I've got. How come the highway is right in with the general fund? They always was a separate sheet of paper instead of the general fund, like the town clerk and all that was on one sheet, and the highway was on a separate sheet, so it went on to the highway stuff, and they're all mixed together now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I picked them up. I went down there this morning. Elaine had them all printed up. And I did notice as I was going through them that the general has the general has everything but payroll on it.
Yeah, but the
But it should
payroll is
have been
all
broken up.
the payroll was all on one thing. The town clerk and everything, the highway and the whole 9 yards. So that shouldn't be. That should be separate. So you have.
That might just be the cover. That might just be the cover sheet that Elaine was talking about on, I think, Wednesday.
According to FEMA, I've been through this FEMA business, and you do it that way, and you ain't going to collect crap.
No, I don't think that those are actually the warrants. I think that the warrants are like they normally are, always in the red folder, all separated out. I
No,
think that the cover sheets.
No,
Oh, no, it's something
this
different.
I took off the warrant covers and made, yeah, and I don't understand why the general is so huge.
Give me a shot.
Okay. Then I don't
So-
know. I'm sorry. I knew Elaine was going to do something a little bit different for the actual for the
She did,
cover sheet.
but
not for the
that wasn't really useful. It was
If
just
you-
a list of
if you
all the
don't-
invoices.
Like, especially for flood. If you don't have that documented to the highway and stuff, and you got to go back through all that stuff, you're not going to get nothing, because I went through it in '96.
Mhm.
And it had to show in the highway papers what the wages were, what truck done, and what project he was on, in the whole 9 yards. Well, I'm not worrying about the projects, but the wages should be under the highway.
Yeah. I don't know what to do here.
No, Irv, I don't
I-
have the
hey,
documents in front of me.
I got a
you-
copy. I know it's a little different than what it was, but I got a copy of one of the old pay orders where we had to do it, and I'm just bringing it in, and Elaine can look at it.
Okay. It's just, yeah, it's weird. The payroll. Yeah, I feel like she printed this differently.
Yeah, but the payroll is under the highway. It's not under the general fund, like where all the rest of the wages are.
I'm gonna have to, you know what? Let's table warrants, and I'll go down to town hall tomorrow and talk to Elaine and figure out what is good. Because Irv, I'm not really exactly sure what you're saying about the payroll.
Yeah, because see,
You have the sheets that I put in your box, right?
yeah, I got all the sheets right here in front of me.
Which warrant are you looking at? The number 6, the general?
Just a second here. Oh, come on. Well, number 7, for example.
Yeah.
You got Anita Bean, you got Stanley Bills, you got Jennifer
No,
Curry Cole.
That's number 1. That's the payroll.
Oh, well,
payroll-
all right, but also you've got Robert Gurman, Steve Fisk, Lyman Roberts, and Dombrowski, all on that same payroll.
Yeah,
What
because
warrant? Which one is he looking at?
he's looking at number 1.
Well, that's the way it's always been done.
It's always all the payroll is together.
That isn't always the way it's been done. Maybe it's been done lately that way, but that isn't the way it's supposed to be done.
I've
Yeah, but
never. Go
But
ahead.
they're broken out by separate accounts. This is just a cover sheet for payroll, and then my guys are charged to highway, and the rest of them are charged to whoever they belong to. But this $11,016 doesn't all get charged to one account.
Well, I tell you, if you get into FEMA, you're going to run into trouble because you've got everything lumped together.
No, they're not lumped together, Irv. They
Well,
are charged
I-
to separate
can I
Well,
accounts.
it's all,
I
it
could
is all
just-
lumped
can I-
together because it's all coming out of
let
the
me just-
same order.
If you go into the highway fund on the general ledger and look under the 200 accounts, under wages for the highway department, that's where our wages are applied every 2 weeks.
Yeah, but this piece of paper right here, if a FEMA comes in, they're not gonna go looking all over everything to find it. You gotta keep, you gotta
I'd
keep
like
it
to say
separate.
something. Excuse me,
Yep.
Irv. Excuse me,
Yeah.
Irv. Can I say something? I'd like to
Yeah.
say something. Thank you. I'd like to say, I think what you're trying to express to the group is that any payroll that is associated with what we're doing right now for COVID or whatever needs to get sorted differently. I think you're saying that the highway department, that things need to get sorted differently than we have typically sorted them.
Right, that should be like there should be a separate number for the highway department, and then that would be strictly separated from all the rest of the general fund. In other
Well,
words, you take the four highway workers, or if they contract anybody, they should all be on a separate sheet. Not saying the checks maybe are the same, but the information should be on a separate sheet in case a FEMA comes in. If we have a flood and stuff, if you can't prove anything and show the payroll sheets and stuff, forget it, because I spent a month going through that stuff and straightening it out.
Well, if that were the case, we would have Elaine pull the payroll records by account.
Yeah, but that FEMA's not going to sit there for 2-3 days waiting for them to pull the stuff out.
No, it
Well,
shouldn't.
we can give them the time cards.
But I say the checks and stuff should be on a separate list for the highway.
What I'm saying is I have not seen payroll done any differently than this in my tenure on the board.
Yeah,
Irv,
no.
This is how we were doing it.
Can I speak for a second? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that Irv is thinking that the entire payroll comes out of the general fund, but that page is broken out to the appropriate departments. It's just totaled up for payroll, like reasons. So I think that he's thinking that the highway department payroll is coming out of the general fund because he's seeing it all on one list.
If you look at this sheet, you can't tell any different.
Right, because this is the summary sheet that's always on top,
If you look at the
and then we
detail
go
behind
through
sheet,
we go through the timesheets and the list from the front office and the highway stuff.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you have an emergency and FEMA gets in here, you're going to have one hell of a job. Whereas
They're not gonna look at the warrants, or they're gonna ask us to pull up payroll specifically for the highway department, and that is something that Elaine's going to be able to do pretty easily.
Don't tell me they don't look at the warrants, because they do. I say I went through it, so I know. Grafton got washed out, and Spellsbrook got washed out, Back Road to Wyndham, and all that stuff. I had to come up with the payroll sheets and the whole works. I'll tell you what happened.
I do think
I'll
that
tell you, the way it is now is they had a board in there after I got off the highway that changed everything around just to suit themselves, and it's never been right since.
Okay. So I guess the big thing we want to talk about is so we can get the warrants paid tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can everybody meet tomorrow night briefly and go by town hall tomorrow at some point to look through the folder and sign off on the warrants?
I already did that today.
You did? Okay. So Steve?
Yep.
Irv, did you do that too?
No, they weren't there. When I was in there at about noontime.
They were in the red folder
I didn't see that.
in the office next to our boxes.
All right. I'll do that tomorrow.
Okay. All right. So
Do it
we will.
before noon sometime.
Okay. Does anyone have it? Since Steve, you looked through them, or if you need to look through. Okay. So we're going to have to table warrants and have a special meeting tomorrow night to do the warrants. I'm sorry, everyone. This is just way more difficult than I thought it would be. But for the future, I would entertain a motion to move to a single signatory on the warrants going forward, to be done the Wednesday after our meeting, so that checks can go out and everyone will be given the summary sheets on the Tuesday of our meeting day, so that you can look them over, and if you have questions, we can go through questions.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of moving to single signatory on the warrants going forward until this crisis is over, signify by saying aye.
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 Rob?
Yeah, sure.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So we will, once the crisis is over, we will go back to our regular format. We'll just have to vote to go back to everyone having to sign them. And if it takes me on Tuesday afternoons driving around to drop copies off for people, I can do that. Okay.
I'll pick it up.
Okay.
I'm going to sign it tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate that. Okay, so we're tabling the warrants. Brings us to in everyone's box was a copy of counter money, which you can all pick up tomorrow if you didn't get in today. So one thing Anita wanted me to bring up was she would like to waive dog fees while this crisis is going on, late fees for dog licenses, since no one can come in and get them. So I put it on the agenda with an end date of 5/15, which matches the extension of Governor Scott's executive order. If this is still going on, again, we can vote to extend that. So I'd entertain a motion to waive late fees for dog licenses until May 15th of 2020, while Town Hall is closed.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Sorry.
Sorry, just want to say that if you do it till the 15th, you got to give people like at least a week after that to actually register their dog.
Yeah, of course.
That was
We will revisit it probably the week before to see if
that's a real date.
Right, exactly.
But that'll be the day that they have to have them registered by.
Well, that's the day that we'll stop charging start charging late fees after that. We can move it. Right. So, I mean, if you guys want to move it a little later to account for that week.
When is, when is our next, when's our meeting? Is a meeting before that or after?
Before.
Yeah, it should be the
second and fourth Tuesday. So it would be before
so
then.
our meeting would be the
June 1st.
Yeah, our meeting would be the 12th.
All right, then, so if we, what you said, if we make it, then we can discuss it at that meeting, and if we find out we have to go longer, then fine, or else it ends.
Yep. I think that sounds reasonable.
That's what I think it is. That way we know what's happening.
Yep. Any further discussion? Oh, we lost Crystal. Okay, any further discussion on waiving dog licensing fees? Hearing none, all those in favor of waiving dog licenses fees until May 15th, 2020, to be discussed at the meeting just prior to that, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, next item is, do we want to consider having the town purchase a Zoom account to do these meetings on? Right now, I'm using my personal account, which is not that big a deal to me. But I was thinking in the event that I were to fall ill, we would have to have another account. It's $14.95 a month, and it can be canceled. You don't have to like pay for a year ahead. You can go month to month and cancel. So as we get past this, if we decide we didn't need it anymore, we could do that.
Yeah, I absolutely think that's a good idea, Will. And others, I think it's a really good idea not to use your personal account. I think it should be a town account. This is town business. It's only appropriate.
We could also have it then for other town entities, like Sherwood could use it for emergency management meetings.
Absolutely.
The listers could
Absolutely.
use it if they wanted to. Okay,
Yeah, I agree as well.
all right. So
So
I
moved.
have a second.
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 All in favor of using town funds to purchase a Zoom account in the amount of $14.95 a month, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, we did that. So we have a liquor license renewal for a first-class hotel license to sell Martin Vinous beverages from Brattleboro Corporation, 311 Lawrence Drive, West Townsend. And that's what they are doing business as. It's the Windham Hill Inn. So I would entertain a motion to approve the renewal of the liquor license for the Windham Hill Inn.
So moved.
So moved.
So
Second?
moved.
Okay.
Who
all
wants
those
to
in-
name on this one?
all those in favor of renewing the liquor license for the Windham Hill Inn, doing business as Brattleboro Corporation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion passes.
Who
So
seconded?
I think
Sorry.
Irv.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to leave this in the red folder in the warrants. No, I'm going to leave it on the clipboard. When everyone's going in to pick stuff up and sign warrants, we could sign the liquor license, it'll be right on top of the clipboard. Rob, sign on the left.
Didn't their license run out as of today?
No, I think the whole state turns over May
But they
1st.
probably extended it now. But I say normally it's usually the 15th of April.
Oh, no, liquor licenses are May 1st.
Are they May 1st now?
Yeah.
They used to be the 15th of April. I suppose that was income tax time.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Okay.
Well, can I just ask you a question, just procedurally, or maybe the whole select board? If the building is locked, how do we get in? I mean, I have a key.
Yeah, we all have keys, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Does anyone
So
not
just
have
let
keys?
yourself in and
Yep.
go back there and let yourself into Elaine's office? That's okay?
Gloves and a mask.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes care of the agenda, except that I will entertain a motion to.
I hate to interrupt, but Highway didn't do
I'm
a
sorry.
report yet.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Steve. Okay, highway report.
You're doing great, Will.
Wyndham Regional
You're doing
has suspended the grants in aid project that we're were approved for last fall, and we awarded that contract to Hunter Excavating for the Plum Road project. So that has been suspended, and Hunter Excavating has been notified of that. The reason for the suspension is because no one at Wyndham Regional is working in the field. There's no face-to-face interaction. So until the governor lifts the current ban, that program is suspended. Both small structure grants have been submitted, and acknowledgement of receiving from Megan Bronk for Bridge 43 and Bridge 34. Those are in, and like I said, have been received. Signs. If you remember, several meetings ago, I mentioned that we had some street signs that came up missing. Some of them were found in Mercedes Pit in Newfane. This weekend, we were hit again with a dead-end sign being removed from Jordan Lane, and the Acton Hill Grafton Road sign and post removed. I did call the state police, filed a report, brought them up to speed on all of the signs that have been taken down or stolen, and they did some increased patrols on the Grafton Road and Acton Hill and the Simpson Brook. More than we've seen. I had people calling me last night asking why the state police were driving up and down Acton Hill. So
Anita asked me why they were driving up Simpson Brook.
Yeah, so that's what's going on with that. We're had minimal storm damage from last night. We just had some trees down and some branches to clean up this morning. The grader was back out this morning doing road maintenance, and that's what we'll continue to do. And I would ask that for the next meeting, we put on the agenda how we're going to move forward with the food scraps with Wyndham Solid Waste.
Yeah, we got to do something about that.
Yeah, the clock is ticking, and we need to get something moving on that.
I had a question for you, Steve, about road sweeping. Are we going to do that this year?
No, we are not.
For a reason, or?
We don't have the accumulation of sand on the asphalt intersections. We have very minimal on the shoulders of the Grafton Road, and I don't see where we need to do it.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Again, I apologize.
No problem.
I'm a little frazzled over here tonight. So I would entertain a motion to enter executive session under 1 VSA 313 AF for discussion of attorney correspondence.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
All those in favor of entering executive session under 1 VSA 313 AF signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion passes. So I am going to move Helen into the waiting room. And that's just us now. Now I'm going to pause the recording. I'm going to put Rich in the waiting room. We have come out of executive session with no resolution. So I would entertain a next regular meeting is the 28th of April at 6:30, right here on Zoom. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Rich.
Have a great
Good night,
night.
everybody.
I'll
Thank you,
email this
everybody.
file. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Good night.